For our project, we have decided to look at the correlation between cell phones per 100 people and average income. What we have discovered after looking at various charts and trends is what one might expect. There is a positive correlation between cell phone users and average income in a respective country, with residents of wealthier countries being more susceptible to using and owning a cell phone or cell phones. For some additional background knowledge, the definition we are using for cell phone is a phone with access to a cellular radio system so it can be used over a wide area without a physical connection to a network. So the car phone that gained a relatively small bit of attention in the 1980s does not qualify. Based on the graph, we can tell that cell phones were predominantly used and owned by a small percentage of people from developed and wealthier countries in the early stages of cell phone development circa 2001. A mere 6 years later, there is a visible and apparent positive correlation forming between income and cell phone usage. The iPhone was released in 2007 by Apple and marked the beginning of the smartphone revolution across the globe. Slowly but surely, smartphones were becoming the norm to have if you owned a cell phone. A study in 2016 indicated that 43.5% of cell phone users in the United States used iPhones, and a total of 83.8% owned some kind of smartphone. 2008 and on marked the golden age for mobile and cellular communication. Cell phones are no longer synonymous with communication devices. Instead, they are seen as entertainment devices, with popular apps such as Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Netflix, amongst others, gaining mainstream attention over the past decade. It is no wonder that demand for cell phones, specifically smartphones, are at an all-time high.
Looking at some of the more populous and dense countries in the world, the United States, United Kingdom, and Japan, we can begin to observe that they are among the world's most steady and consistent users of cell phones in the fourth zone or level of income. As each country's average income grows, so does their cell phone usage. In fact, the United Kingdom had a 37% increase in cell phone usage in just 1 year between 1999 and 2000. There are some irregularities, however, as multiple countries have more than 100 cell phones per 100 people. It can be assumed that this chart considers a cell phone to mean cell phone subscription, which allows one person to assume liability for a number of cell phones. Switching from developed countries to developing countries, it is easy to understand why cell phone usage has dropped between the two groups of countries. Developing countries don't feel the need to use their already depleted income on a cell phone or entertainment device. It is a luxury only certain countries can afford. Looking at Kazakhstan, it is easy to see that they appear as a bit of an outlier because in 2012 they averaged a very high number of cell phone subscriptions at 179 per 100 people, but were on the lower end of global GDP levels at $22,000 per capita. This puts them well above the visual trend line according to the graph. The Democratic Republic of Congo finds itself at the low end of both GDP with $745 US and cell phone usage with 43 cell phones per 100 people. The DRC has had a diminishing level of GDP per capita since 1974 until about 2001, which is the year cell phone usage increased and GDP increased as well. Venezuela has had a growing rate of GDP per capita as well as cell phone usage up until 2008, when political turmoil erupted and hyperinflation began taking hold of the country. As the graph shows, cell phone subscriptions have gone down 25% since 2013, from 102 cell phones per 100 people to 76 over the course of 4 years. This can be explained because while all of these national problems are continuing, and the citizens of Venezuela must deal with them, they find themselves dealing with more pressing day-to-day issues than surfing the internet.
To conclude, the trends from the graphs we observed were very predictable and were backed up by numbers. This concept applies to almost any luxury or non-necessity good, not just cell phones. It can be related to average propensity to consume. The more income a person has, the more likely they are to spend that income on consumption of luxuries, as opposed to those with lower incomes who are not as likely to purchase luxury goods.